And I went in and my boss says to me, I know you know sports and I know you love sports, but not like the guys do. And I was like, oh my God, did you really just like, it just took my breath away. And I couldn't believe that someone would actually say that. And you know what? It was the best kick in the butt I had.
Tracy, how are you? You been good?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Yep. Just busy. And now I'm getting a little time to be a mom, which is nice.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So you kind of went from being an NFL sports reporter to March Madness and then the Masters after that. Like you're finally getting a chance to just settle down and be a mom. How was that?
Yeah, it's a lot, but it was probably the best month I've had of my career. I mean, to top it off with an opportunity to go to the Masters and do a show from Butler Cabin, it certainly had been on my bucket list. And I always envy Jim Nantz, who gets to do that whole trifecta of Super Bowl, Final Four, and Masters. And hopefully I'll get that opportunity to do that. So it's been great. We had a tremendous NFL season with a lot of really good games and then went right into March Madness. Good to be back with all the fans present. And of course, tremendous games down the stretch there and then turning it into golf. So it was a great run. I am really glad to have some time, though, to be a mom and relax and regroup and just be on the sidelines of a different sport. And that's more like watching my kids.
I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of your fashion, because you are one of the most fashionable people in the industry. I look at all the game day drip, all the outfits and stuff. But honestly, Tracy, I think this might be your best outfit right here. Hold up.
Oh, man.
This one right here.
Oh, yeah. I love it, Jeff. I love it.
Tracy,
so my mom, she has a great fashion sense. She really does. Way better than me. I just kind of follow along what she does, but she's very creative, a great eye. And so when we were young, she would create these costumes and I just would let her go with it. I was very easy. I was like, oh, you want me to be a trash can? I was a toilet bowl one year also. I'm like, you want me to be a toilet bowl? Sure. I was really rosy. I mean, I had so many different strawberry shortcake. She created every costume. And this was one of my favorites. I mean, it's great. Like you have the trash around the neck hanging from a rope. She just took a trash can. I mean, I love the stars and the hearts just to make it a little girly.
Right.
Right? Like that detail. And then the like clown face. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Tracy, what is that?
I'm not sure. She was very into makeup. She's so good. And she really loved painting faces. And I'm not really sure where that came from, but I wore it well. I was a trooper.
The thing that really gets me is like the fact that there's actually like trash, what looks like it's attached to you.
Oh yeah. It's around my neck. It's on a string around my neck. It's like a trash necklace.
I love that one. This is also one of my favorites right here too.
Let's see.
That one.
Oh my God. It's funny. I look at that picture and that looks like my youngest son, who, if you saw him, doesn't look like me now, but that face looks like him. Oh, I was really young then. I was probably like 3 years old, I would assume. Yeah, but I wasn't a devil child. That's the thing. I was like an angel. I really should have been an angel. But that's a cute one. I like that one.
Yeah. So
I love how you dig these up.
Tracy, you got to talk to me since I'm looking at some of these costumes. Tell me what young Tracy Wolfson was like.
Yeah, so I was a little tomboy. I absolutely loved playing sports, watching sports, competing in anything. And it didn't have to just be sports. I was a huge card game player, board game player. I loved racing cars. I had Matchbox cars. I was definitely, I had blocks. I did go through my Cabbage Patch Kid phase. I definitely got into that. But I wasn't a Barbie girl. I had pictures pasted all over my room of Michael Jordan. And, that was, and anything from Teen Beat. I was definitely girly in that sense. That's dating you. It was a girly kind of, or teen magazine with all like the pop stars. It was kind of like a Teen People in a sense. And I just kind of was an easygoing. I really was a studious girl. I loved to do everything. I was into everything. I was gung ho. I loved to be around people. I always just said I was very versatile. So it's funny. You come to like these end of the year senior awards that they give out. What do they call it in the yearbook?
Mhm.
And mine was most versatile. I was everything. I was like a huge, very into rah-rah, representing my team, very into my school. I ran for government. I was very involved in everything. And so that was kind of me. I mean, I just kind of like to do it all and be into everything.
Yeah. So, do you think this versatility that you showed at a young age helps you in your career and really elevated your status from just a regular reporter to Tracy Wolfson?
No doubt. And I tell young reporters that all the time is be versatile. Be willing to do kind of everything. Know every sport. Be able to they call on you to do figure skating, you do it. Rodeo. I mean, I did everything. Figure skating, rodeo, auto racing. I don't know how to change a tire, but I was a pit reporter. I was telling you when they had to change gas and tires in a driver change. I did the rodeo, I studied, I learned it, and everyone thought I knew what I was doing, and I've been doing it for years. I did a show on sumo wrestling. I did synchronized swimming, I did snowboard, skiing, track and field, all of that before I did football and basketball. So I always say versatility is so important because then you're valuable and they can throw you in any role and you just got to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And that kind of did translate on, like I said, I was into everything. So everything interested me. And one of the things I love to do was research. I always said I love to study for the tests, not necessarily take the test, but I love to study for the tests. And I love to do that research and take those notes. And that allowed me that you could do that in any sport. And so that versatility definitely helped me in this business. And it still does to this day.
When you first got started out at Michigan, from what I can tell, you have great qualities, and I could see you stepping in day one and just succeeding. But what were some struggles that you had when you first started?
Yeah, so I always wanted to go to the University of Michigan. I wanted a couple of the big time sports or the big time academics. Yes.
Uh,
Uh-huh. But you brought it up, not me. Okay, not me. If you
I
want, I'll
did.
go grab the ball or the jersey and hold it up, the one behind me. No. So I did. I wanted a couple, both of those. And the problem was when I got there was the journalism department closed after my sophomore year. Now, I didn't go to school. I knew I wanted to be a reporter. I wanted to be a sideline reporter since I was 7 years old. But I didn't go to Michigan saying I need to go there like a Newhouse or Medill or go to a communication journalism program. But I knew they had enough classes. And when I got there after my sophomore year, those classes had closed down. So that was the struggle, figuring out a way to get experience in front of the camera or in the sports business, sports communication business at the University of Michigan. So I never got in front of the camera there. They had a WOLV TV station, which still existed that today, but I was doing so many other things. And I don't know why I never really pursued it. I didn't hear much about it. And I wound up really just finding an internship through Michigan, working for HBO Sports. And while I was there, and it was a very highly coveted internship with a highly coveted interview, several people went up for it and they picked four of us. And we went to New York and I spent the summer working there. And there I made a lot of friends who worked for CBS or ABC as freelancers. And those days, a lot of people freelanced. And so they would come and do games at Michigan and they would say, hey, you want to work as a runner? And I'm like, yeah, I want to work as a runner. Sure. So every time they would come and do a game, it would be ABC or CBS. They do basketball games, football games. I would be a runner. And that's kind of how I got into the business. I watched everyone and I worked through them. And then I made more contacts. This business is all about contacts. That's how we connected. And I made those contacts. So when I graduated, and I did a lot for CBS while I was at Michigan, I wound up working a bunch of figure skating shows. They're like, hey, we're going to be at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Why don't you come to a figure skating show? I'm like, okay. I don't figure skate. I didn't know much about it. Then they went from there to Detroit. They're like, do you want, or Grand Rapids? So you want to come with us to Grand Rapids? I'm like, I'm in. Then they're like, we're actually flying from here to Tampa. You want to come there? I'm like, sure. And I graduated a semester early to allow myself to do that. So I was able to be flexible, made all these contacts, got a lot of experience behind the scenes, and ultimately got my first job as a researcher for CBS. So I never was in front of the camera. My first job was really behind the scenes working for CBS.
Hmm. So what was that transition like? Because I'm kind of in the same place right now where I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and I'm
Yep.
even helping prep people for the big stage. And I'll even mention this to you because I haven't mentioned this to anybody. But
Yeah.
so for the Super Bowl, leading up to that week, I was talking with Chris Collinsworth, and he came to one
Huh?
of our practices, and he taps me on the shoulder and is like, "Hey, what do you think about the defense over there?" And I start listing off 3 or 4 athletes, their stories, and like how much of an impact they've had this year. And he's like, "You know what? Like, give me your phone number. Let's call tonight and let's tell me a story about everybody on the defense." And so I
Amazing.
did that. And it's kind of like that is one of my breaks that I've had. And like
Yeah.
I'm looking for my next one. And so I kind of feel you, but what is that transition like from behind the scenes to out in front of the camera?
Well, you're doing it right now. And that's the struggle. It's like, how do you make that first tape? Right. And I didn't have what you have. I didn't have people to look up to ask questions to. It was relatively new business for women. And
Mhm.
so couldn't really figure it out. I just had to kind of go wherever my career path took me, which is where it took me was to CBS. And then after a year there, they it's a long story, but in the end, I went to go get a promotion to be what they call a BA. You might have worked with our BAs. They do our graphics. That's kind of the path. You go graphics and you go to be an associate director, and then you decide if you want to produce or direct. That's how it works at CBS. And so everyone was trying to get promoted. I'm like, okay, I'll just do this for right now. And I went in and my boss says to me, I know you know sports and I know you love sports, but not like the guys do.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, did you really just like it just took my breath away. And I couldn't believe that someone would actually say that. And you know what? It was the best kick in the butt I had because I was like, okay, I'm out. This is not what I want to do anyway. So let me figure something else out. Well, when I left, I got a call from a friend who was looking to replace him at a broadcast agency, representing broadcasters, making tapes, sending them out, completely on a different side of the business. But it was a stable job in New York. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So I took it and I worked there for a year and I got other people jobs. And then I got a job going from like Buffalo to Philly, number 4 market in the country at the time or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, she's my age. She's already in the number 4 market. And I haven't even gotten on air yet. So after a year there, I left and I went to a small TV station called News 12 Long Island. And I was a producer, sports producer there. They hired me and I would help produce their sportscasts. And then every time the reporter would go out and do a story, I would follow him. I became friends with him. And he's like, you just do the story off to the side, the same one I did. And that's how I made my tape. And nothing ever aired. It was all fake. I took one class, one on-air class that maybe I used for like a anchor segment, but nothing ever aired. And I made a whole tape. I knew how to put together a tape from being at that agency, made it, and I sent it all across the country. And I got one job in Trenton, New Jersey. And that's where I started. And I had no experience, but I knew, just like that you just need that shot. And if someone gives you that shot, you'll be good. Like I had watched so many other reporters. I had practiced. I'd done whatever I could just to get that experience, without really being given that experience. And I just needed the shot. And that was where it started. I spent about a year there, a year and a half, built a tape, did everything. I had to do news sometimes because I was the only sports reporter. I covered a lot of high school and a lot of college, no pro sports really. And then I covered a lot of news when they needed me. And I put it all together because I, again, knew how to make a tape and I got reps. I got better and better and better. And someone I knew was an agent, saw me, plucked me out of, Trenton, New Jersey. Everyone was looking for a female reporter at the time. I got a job at MSG and ESPN. I had never been live before on a sideline until my first game for ESPN. Isn't
Wow.
that crazy?
Yeah.
There weren't those opportunities. It wasn't like you can, do this for, online, or you can do it for a team, or you could do it, through, there's so many networks now, right? Or you could even do it in college. Like there was none of that for me. So literally my first job was for ESPN. My first live sideline job was Kentucky, Louisville, big rivalry with Jared Lorenzen, who was the hefty lefty, versus Dave Ragone. And I remember after the game, my producer says to me, "You don't have to scream into the microphone. That's what a microphone is for." But it was great. And then after a year at ESPN, CBS had an opening and I wound up getting that job. So
Wow.
yeah, 18 years later now.
Tracy, do you consider yourself a trailblazer?
I would like to. I think that's an incredible honor to hold. There are several trailblazers before me, though, that I admire and that mentor me and I look up to. And Leslie Visser, to me, is the trailblazer of all trailblazers. And she is, to me, the epitome of sideline reporters, broke a lot of barriers, had to overcome a lot of obstacles to get where she is. And she, to this day, is still a really good friend of mine and is texting me all the time after I do something good, or maybe I don't think it's good. And she'll just pump me up. And she gives me great confidence and reaches out constantly to know that she is there for me. And I appreciate that. And I try and do the same. It's all about paying it forward. And we want our business to be the best. And we want the best people to be in line in this business and ultimately take over when we're ready to move on. And so I would like to think that that is a word people would use when they talk about me, but I certainly was not one of the first trailblazers.
Hmm. I consider you to be a trailblazer. You know, I look at the work that you do, and for me, who's somebody who's trying to get in this business, there are a handful of people that I look at. I'm not really a fan of everybody's styles, but your style and like, I mean, just watching you in March Madness, like you're always there with the blue flashcards,
I love my
the
cards.
the patented Tracy Wolfson blue
Oh
cards.
yeah, those blue cards that's all I use. You're so right. Everyone
Yeah,
makes fun of me. My whole crew makes fun of me. I'm like, I need more blue cards.
we got to get into why they're blue and stuff after this. But when I look at you, I kind of like look at it different than the average fan. Like I see how intently you pay attention to people. You ask very pertinent questions, and then you have some memorable moments, like with the UNC coach.
Yeah,
What's his name? What's his
Hubert
name?
Davis. Hubert
Hubert
Davis.
Davis.
Yep.
Yeah, like
It's live action, Tracy. Live action.
like I feel like your preparation and your hard work pays off in moments like that, where like you might not be the focus, but forever that moment will be in history as Tracy Wolfson interviewing Hubert Davis.
Thank you. Well, I will, those are really kind words. And that means a lot because I do think about the image you put out there or the person you are, because you want others to emulate you. You want coaches and players to respect you. Ultimately, that's how you're going to get better, because if you don't have the respect from the coaches and the players and the people you work with alongside your colleagues, well, then you're never going to be successful in this business. And I know one of the things we were going to talk about is what you can say to young women or men who want to get into this business. And it really comes down to just be yourself is really important. Don't try and be anyone else, but also understand that I don't like to draw. It's not about me. It's really not. I need to make sure I know everything so I don't get scrutinized. That's really important, especially as a woman, to know your stuff and do your hard work so that there's no questions. But it's really about, don't draw attention to yourself. It's not about you. It's really about them. It's about the broadcast. It's about those you're interviewing. And I always think about that when I am doing the interview is it's just let them talk. It's not about the question I come up with. It's not about how many stats I know or what happened in the first quarter of the game, because then that's just too much on you. You don't even give the guy time to answer because in this business, you get like 30 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all, and that's what happened with Hubert Davis. It happened with Andy Enfield, actually, in the first two rounds where he like cut you up, and I'm fine with it's all about television, right? Just get him started. So I think that's an important thing I'd like others to take away is just remember, it's not about how many times you get on the air. It's not about you, right? It's just about the broadcast and you being part of that broadcast. And there's so many things that you can do to be part of that broadcast. And not all of it entails being in front of the camera.
Hmm. Everybody out there, listen to that free game. This is a Trailblazer, Tracy Wolfson right here, giving free game. I
You're
love it.
awesome.
I love it. See, we just talked about that memorable interview. Are there any other ones that come to mind over your career of just interviewing people?
Certainly. I mean, just this month, when we talk college basketball, I think the post-game interview with Mike Krzyzewski is one that now stands out to me. I mean, just putting a bow on his career, having him be able to discuss in the final moments in his final game, kind of what that meant to him. He didn't want to really go there, but he handled himself so graciously. And I'll take you back to a story and why it was so important to me to be able to do that interview. Is one of those jobs I talked about at CBS when I was a runner my senior year was to work the Final Four in Indianapolis. And my job actually during the Final Four was to cue the band, which is hilarious. But my job throughout the week was to pick up Mike Krzyzewski and Mickey Krzyzewski at the airport and drive them around. And they were guests of CBS. And so that was my first time meeting Mike Krzyzewski. And I remember just being in awe. When I was at Michigan, I would sleep out for Duke games just to get a seat in Chrysler Arena. And so to have that opportunity was huge to me. And then I finally get on the air and I run into Mickey Krzyzewski before a game, and I go over and I go, "Do you remember me?" And she goes, "Of course I remember you. And I remember that you wanted to be on the air. And I'm so happy that you finally are living your dream." And so from that point on, I've been alongside them a lot. We've been on the Duke train for a long time. And so that moment meant a lot to me. So that interview, I think, stands out. You talk college basketball, certainly with Tony Bennett when the 16 upset Virginia, the number 1 seed, in his post game, because those losing interviews are the toughest interviews you have to do. So that stands out. But then on the positive side, I think Peyton Manning at Super Bowl 50, it was my first Super Bowl I did, and it was his last. And so to do that interview, which we almost didn't get, which was pretty crazy to think we weren't going to do an interview after that game. And I clawed my way in and I got that interview. And to me, that was, one of my most memorable ones, certainly.
Definitely. Wow. Interview with Peyton Manning. That's like almost bucket list stuff. Would you say that, you know, oh, actually, I got a question. So, is there somebody in history that you would want to interview that you didn't get a chance to interview?
Wow. That's a great question. First off, with Peyton, he is like top of the line, like nicest. I mean, love his family. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
really quality, salt of the earth. So he always makes everything easier. Um, I would say it probably would be Muhammad Ali. And I'm not a huge boxing fan, but when you talk about icons, right, and legends and people who made a difference in the world combined in the sports world, I mean, I actually have right over here his boxing glove when he fought Cassius Clay. It was something I bid on, and it's amazing. We bid on it. It was right up there. We just took it down, but I think that would probably be one of those you'd like to go back in time and pick his brain and sit down with and interview. I love those long form interviews. I really like what we're doing right now. I enjoy that. I don't get to do that enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do that for the NFL today, but you condense it into a minute 30, so you don't, I love long form interviews. So I think, he's certainly one. And then I always he's still alive and still around, but I never got the chance to interview Michael Jordan. And I would have liked to interview him at his prime because I was a huge Jordan fan growing up. So I think if I was back then while he was in his prime and playing with the Bulls, I think that would have been really cool.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
That's wow, MJ.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of like LeBron for me. Like, and just seeing his journey from just being a kid from Akron, Ohio,
Yeah.
to making it to all the way to LA right now. Like, his journey is just very inspiring to me. And, you know, I don't have any tattoos, but the one tattoo I would get would be "Strive for Greatness." I
Um,
love that quote from him.
yeah. Yep. I love that.
So I got
Yeah.
another picture.
All right. Let's see it.
Tell me about this interview right here.
Oh yeah, Taco Fall. I still get conversations, comments on it. literally people just pick me out of crowd, be like, oh my God, I love that, picture of you in Taco Fall. I mean, that is still, it has legs, a lot of legs, that picture and that moment. But anyway, first off, I don't know why I took my shoes off, because not like those extra 2 inches are going to matter. Okay. So I have no idea why I did that. But I mean, it was classic. It was just in the moment. And, we were trying to save it for the game, and UCF put it out, and it just took off. It went viral, and he was great guy to be alongside and interview. Speaking of that, but then after that game, they won, and I had to do an interview post game with him, and my arm was like, I couldn't even reach, and I made a joke about it on the air also. But yeah, that was a funny one.
So to end this out, I want to ask you some quick hits right now.
Okay.
So, favorite sport: football, basketball, or other?
Football to cover, basketball to be part of March Madness, and lacrosse to watch my kids play.
Ooh, lacrosse.
I'm obsessed. I'm a lacrosse mom through and through.
Okay then. So you're from New York. Give me the best food out of New York. Cheesecake, a New York slice, a classic New York slice, or a bagel, or other.
Ooh. So I grew up loving cheesecake and needing to have it after every meal when I was a kid, but I would not say that's like, to me, a New York thing. So I wouldn't think that way. I would definitely go with a slice of pizza. And bagels, I still love bagels. I mean, who doesn't like a New York bagel? And they're very different anywhere outside of New York, but got to go with the pizza. And it's like every pizza place in the city is good. Like it's just, and I love pizza. Who doesn't love pizza?
Yeah. I've
So
heard
that's what I
Brooklyn
would.
is a good spot for pizza.
Brooklyn is a great spot for pizza. Yep. Grimaldi's. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Oh, you making me hungry. It's almost lunchtime,
It
Tracy.
is
Oh my
almost lunchtime.
goodness.
That's true.
So next one, Midwest or Northeast?
Northeast.
Yeah.
Northeast. I just feel comfortable here. Love my time in the Midwest, and love the people there. But I kind of like, first of all, it's a little colder in that Midwest area. You get to like Michigan, Wisconsin, Chicago, that whole, like, the wind
It's
off
brutal.
the water. It is brutal. Not that it doesn't get cold here, but I'm a New Yorker through and through.
Okay. And Tracy, your view was kind of screwed because you didn't get the best city in the Midwest, Columbus, Ohio. You were in an okay part of the Midwest.
I don't mention that word.
What? What word?
Exactly.
Okay.
I don't.
Side note: have you ever been to the Shoe, and like, have you ever had that
No,
experience before? No,
no. I've done a basketball game there, but I haven't done a football game.
Tracy.
I know that is actually on my bucket list. Well, I've never done a Michigan Ohio State game. I've never been to one. I've never covered one, obviously, but it was always Thanksgiving. And for me, when I wanted to go home, it was like hard to kind of give that up. So I never got that opportunity. And then once I started working for CBS, we do the Thanksgiving game. It's always the opposite. So we're in Detroit when Michigan's at Ohio State, and we're in Dallas when Michigan's at home. So it never syncs up. Maybe one day the NFL will change it and we'll kind of get that opportunity. But yeah, for now, I haven't had that chance. And this was the one to go to. This year was the one to go to.
It wasn't, Tracy.
Of course it was. We had a huge party at our house. Oh, it was legendary.
The one time, like, the fact that, like, it's like in the news right now that the Minnesota Timberwolves went crazy after their playoff win and everybody was going insane. Like, Michigan, the one time in 17 freaking years that they get a win.
It still bothers you, though. It still bothers you.
No, I mean, it bothers me that you guys, like, were so crazy about this win. Like, at least string together 2 in a row before you guys start burning the whole city of
we have to
Ann
talk
Arbor down.
It's been a long time.
It has.
It's been a long time. And it had a lot of implications. So that was good.
Yeah. What do you think about Aiden Hutchinson? He said Michigan is the new D-line U.
I love it. I love it. I like him as a player. I like him as a person. I can't wait to see what he does in the NFL. And that he had a right to say that after this season, but we'll see. I mean,
Tracy, do you think that's credible? Think about this. Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young.
right. But that was then. This is now.
That was like 2-3 years ago, Tracy. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. We'll see what's going on with that one. But last one, warm weather or cold weather?
Warm weather, no doubt. I'm telling you, Jeff, I need a palm tree right now, like really bad. And it's almost 80 degrees out today here in New York. But I need a palm tree. I need a beach. I need a cocktail and a book. I need to just lie there and chill and not think about anything. I've been jonesing for that for a really long time. Probably not getting it until the summer, but that's what I need. I am all warm weather and beach. I love, by the way, I do snowboard. I go skiing with my family. It's a great family vacation. I would miss that. I definitely enjoy that, but I am more beachy than anything.
Is there a destination spot that you keep in mind when you think of this stuff?
No, I'm not picky. I'm not picky, but a resort. A resort would be nice.
You gotta be baller. Like if you're going out of the country, like not even out of the country, but like if you're going to like a warm weather place, you gotta be a baller and just like all inclusive, like
I just do it all.
that whole
I
shebang.
travel so much for work. I joke, I say I'm a travel snob because I don't spend money on like clothes or bags or jewelry or any of that. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want a nice vacation that I can chill out in. So I call myself a travel snob because that's, we travel every week in different hotels. We're not settled, we're in and out. So that's what I like to spoil myself with.
Okay.
But finding the time to do that, on the other hand, is the hard part.
So the title of this episode is going to be Tracy Wolfson, the Trailblazer and the Travel Snob.
That would be awesome.
Thank you for coming on again, too. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.